Welcome back to our three-part documentary series on the legendary Vandenheede brothers, Freddy and Jacques. Bird Sparkles. In Part 2, we explore their champion breeding techniques and training methods. Discover how they turned their pigeons into world-class competitors with high-value insights and unique strategies. Special thanks to Carlo Garcia for making this video possible. Folded hands. If you haven't seen Part 1, check it out first. Don't forget to thumbs up like this video. Speech balloon, share your thoughts in the comments. Bell subscribe for more amazing content. Stay tuned for the final part coming soon.
I don't think there are pigeons who fly 4 or 5 years very good.
No.
I don't need the ones who are flying prices.
No.
I am searching for top pigeons.
Yeah, because you said even the fond players, they don't play them as young pigeons and yearlings. They're playing 2, 3 year old and maybe 4 year olds. Yeah. So even though they're playing with old pigeons, their engine's relatively fresh. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Yeah. You mentioned earlier you use a lot of tea on your young pigeons. Yeah. How many times a week will you give the pigeons tea?
3-4 days.
3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
We'll have a talk about the tea and other products you use when we'll look at the feeding. We'll take a look around the loft now. Is there anything else you would do to motivate these pigeons, or do they just motivate themselves?
They motivate themselves.
They motivate themselves. Exercising twice a day, once a day?
Yeah, twice a day.
And how long?
When they are not on nest, once a day.
Once a day, yeah.
When they are, then I am at the home. From July I am at the home.
Yeah.
Then they exercise 2 times. In the morning the cocks, in the evening the hens, because the hens are in the morning on the nest.
Yeah. So you only put the cocks out then in the morning.
I put. They can go. Everyone who wants to go outside can go outside.
Yeah. Will you force them to fly with a flag?
In the beginning of the season, yes.
Yes.
But they know it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they know when they are going out, they must fly for 1 hour.
Yeah. Are the traps closed when the pigeons are out flying? They're closed, so they can't get back in the loft anyway.
They can't come back, no.
Yeah. So you'll come down in the loft in the morning, open the traps, the birds know that it's time for exercise. When whichever birds have gone out, which wish to go out, then the traps are closed. 1 hour's exercise. And then the same in the evening. Yeah. Feeding the pigeons, how many times will you feed the pigeons?
2 times.
2 times a day.
After they have flight.
Yeah. And when you take the pigeons for basketing at the club, what day will you take the birds to the clubhouse for basketing on the flights you play on?
For the 400, 500 kilometers Thursday evening.
Yeah.
And the 300 kilometers it's Friday evening. Yeah. And they're coming back on Saturday.
The young pigeon loft, Freddy, it's very spacious, it's very roomy for a young pigeon loft. Some young pigeon lofts, they like them close so they're on top of the pigeons, Yours is very roomy. How deep is this
It's
section?
3 meters.
3 meters,
and you have a corridor from 1 meter.
From 1 meter, so it's 4 meters deep, and up to the ceiling is just 2 meters. But from the ceiling up to the top of the roof, you have a space of maybe 1.8 meters.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But outside the loft and along the back, there's no ventilation.
There is no ventilation. I hate it.
You hate ventilation?
Yeah.
Why? Do you not? I mean, don't get me wrong, you can't smell pigeons in here. It's perfectly dry.
Yeah.
So, tell me what your reasons are for not liking ventilation or air on the pigeon loft.
I think it's not good for the pigeons to be in the ventilation. And when I have more hair, like you, it wasn't a problem for me. But now, I feel it on my head when there is ventilation. And I think for the pigeons it's no good to be in the ventilation.
You don't want no air? No draft, shall we say. You don't want the draft on the pigeons. No, drafts are bad for pigeons, but normally we see people with vents on the front of the loft, vents coming in here, chimneys, electronic ventilators. There's nothing here, is there? But what about the days when sometimes now the temperatures are reaching 32 degrees? Doesn't bother you?
No. and it don't bother the pigeons either.
Doesn't bother the pigeons either.
Why putting here a ventilation and make that it's here when it's 30 degrees outside and it's here then 25 degrees? What's the difference from 5 degrees?
Yeah.
And when we are basket them, they are going in the
Truck, yeah.
in the trucks, and there it's 60 degrees, 50 degrees under the.
Yeah, under the canopy, yeah.
So
Yeah. The walls of the loft, are they insulated? Outside it's plastic, yeah?
yeah, inside it's wood, and
just
between
wood.
nothing.
There's nothing.
No.
And how much space are there between the outside wall and the inside wall?
10
Yeah,
centimeters.
10 centimeters.
Something like that. 8, let's say 8,
Yeah.
8, 9.
On the floor there's straw. Well, there's more straw in here than you find in some farmers' barns. How deep is the straw?
10 centimeters.
10 centimetres deep.
Yeah.
Under this straw there are grills.
Yeah.
Between the grills and the floor, is there any airspace or?
No.
No, they're directly onto the
They are
floor.
on a little bit of straw,
Yeah.
then the grills, and then I put on every 14 days another.
Another layer of straw,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Every 14 days of fresh layer of straw. Do you take any straw out? Or?
No.
Because this straw, it's not dirty. There's no piles of droppings anywhere.
Because you have not as many pigeons
Yeah.
on the loft, and it's a very big loft. That's the reason.
Yeah. Yeah, you told me earlier you used to keep a lot of youngsters. Now you don't keep so many. How many
Yeah.
youngsters will you
80
start?
now.
80 youngsters, yeah. And that's enough, yeah. And how long is the loft? Because it's 4 metres deep and the length
13 meters.
13 metres and only 80 young pigeons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With some old hens.
The perches in the loft, Freddy, although there are plenty of spaces for the birds to make a nest, find their own place, they're not very deep. They're only 6 inches, say 13 centimetres from front to back, yeah?
Yep.
Normally we see very deep perches. These are only shallow. This, I understand, is to prevent them coupling early on,
Yep.
yeah? Yeah?
That's the only reason.
That's the
and
only
then I
reason.
am then very close to the pigeons. When I walk through my loft,
Yeah.
they can't go inside.
Inside, no.
Yeah.
You want them to be close to
Yeah.
you. And you clean the perches twice a day, yeah?
Yeah.
When the birds are out, yeah. It's not just been cleaned out for us coming today, no?
No.
It's always clean, yeah?
It's always-
Because, again, with young pigeons, some fanciers don't clean the young pigeon loft. You know, some fanciers never clean the sitters, they don't clean the floor, they leave...
Let's say I'm a cleaner.
You're a cleaner?
Yep.
Yeah.
I like more cleaning the lofts than going to the club and talking with people.
Yeah. So those that don't clean the lofts like myself, we're lazy fanciers, eh?
I don't know. But
No.
I like to do that.
Yeah, you'd rather be
That's
in
my
there with the
life.
pigeons. Yeah, yeah.
On the breeding loft, we have wooden grills
Yeah,
in the summer, not in the winter.
Not in
in
the
the
winter,
winter, I remove them all
Yeah.
and I clean all the thing.
clean it all, yeah.
I have, I think, 150 quadrat meters. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah, 150 metres, yeah.
In the winter
Square
time.
metres, yeah.
Yeah, and I clean it all.
All,
When the youngsters are coming here, there is no straw on the floor
yeah,
until they fly into the little boxes.
Yeah.
Then I put
So
straw
as soon
on the
as the
floor.
pigeons start going up to the
Yeah.
perches, that's when this straw comes in
Yeah.
the loft. Because every loft has a drain plug, I believe. For when you're washing out
Yep.
the lofts, you have a drain, yeah. You just wash them once at the end of the season,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you use a torch to clean the loft, yeah. Young pigeons, while we're talking about the young pigeons, before we talk about the food, coli, E. coli, yeah, young bird sickness as they call it in the UK.
Yep.
Do you experience any problems with the young bird sickness, coli?
Yeah, every time.
Every time?
Year.
Every year?
Yeah. And when there were more youngsters on the loft, I had it twice a year.
Yeah. Why do you think we're experiencing young bird sickness, as we call it, coli? Why are we experiencing this coli? Because 20 years ago, definitely in the UK, there was no coli. Pigeons weren't being sick or...
I think there are too many pigeons in the loft, and with the darkness,
The darkness.
Yeah.
You really put it down to the darkness. And
something,
too many
yeah.
pigeons in the loft.
And more. This year there were less pigeons in the loft. I have less problems with the coli.
Coli, yeah. And what will you do when the problem arises? I mean, this E. coli or young bird sickness, a lot of people get it. Some people say they have wet droppings. Some people say the birds are being sick, vomiting. What are your experience with coli? Are they being sick?
They are sick. They
bad
are
droppings?
putting back their
Food, yeah.
food, and they have bad drops.
Bad droppings. So what will you do? What is your system when you see the pigeons in this condition?
When there are many of them, I tried. I give them Lugol.
Lugols.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lugols of iodine, yeah? That you mix with milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lugols, yeah?
Most of the time it don't work,
Right, yeah.
but it's cleaning their
Their intestines, the system, yeah.
the system. And when there are more of them, I do nothing. I give electrolytes.
Electrolytes, yeah?
Yes, then, and I do nothing.
You do nothing.
When it's mostly it's going better after 3-4 days. When it's not going better with the electrolytes,
yeah?
after 2-3 days I give medication.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. But first you see if the pigeons...
I tried to let them make a natural
Resistance,
yeah.
Yeah. And if you do, and I stress if you do have to give medication, what's your choice of medication when the pigeons are in that situation?
It's something from the vet.
Something from the vet. You always visit your veterinary, yeah. Is he a local veterinary?
It's
in
a
the
local
village?
veterinary, yeah.
Local veterinary, yeah. Unfortunately, in England, we don't have veterinaries that specialise with the pigeons.
No.
Yeah. And how many hens will you start with then? Because at the moment, there's more empty boxes than full boxes.
Yeah. With 40-50 hens.
40 and 50 hens.
Between that, yeah.
Between that, yeah. And you don't play Widowhood cocks at all. You
No.
only play the hens.
Only the hens.
Yeah. So do you only enter the hens in races against hens, or can you play your hens against the cocks as well?
Also against the cocks, yeah.
Also against the cocks, yeah. Are you not at a disadvantage by racing hens against
No.
Widowhood cocks, especially in Belgium, you know, where
No.
Widowhood was born? No?
No.
You're at no disadvantage?
No.
You've proved that, yeah? Your systems prove that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you prefer, is there a reason why you prefer Widowhood hens to Widowhood cocks?
No.
There's no reason?
There's no reason. Only the reason I played hens now is I started with hens and cocks.
Yeah.
And I only play it 1 year, and because I have less time I have to choose one discipline.
Yeah.
And the hens were better at that moment, so that's the reason why I played.
So your hens was playing better
Yeah.
than your cocks were, so you chose to go down the road of playing with the hens. When you say you was playing with hens and cocks at that time, did they have separate mates, like separate hens for the cocks? Or
Yeah.
They had separate mates, and so it was an even thing. It wasn't a matter of a cock returning and his hen was still away on the flight. No. So your system with hens, when do you start with your hens?
To couple them,
Yeah, the season for the hens start, yeah.
the coupling is middle of December.
Middle of December, yeah.
So they have youngsters. End of January, beginning of February.
Yeah.
When the youngsters are gone, they stay alone in the loft here.
When will you take the youngsters away? How old will the youngsters be, or do you watch for the second egg, or are the cocks taken away?
No, I tried that they don't leg another time.
Yeah.
At that moment, I put away the cocks, and the hen stays here with the youngsters.
Yeah.
And when the youngsters are 17, 18, 19 days, I put them all on the ground, and all the hens are feeding all the youngsters, and they start to eat. And when they are 23-4 days, I put them on the youngsters loft.
There's no straw in this loft at the moment. Is there any straw in it when you're racing?
No.
No straw.
No straw.
In the boxes. And the hens, are they sitting on the front of the boxes, or are they always locked up in the boxes?
In the middle season, when they are not raced, they are before the boxes.
Yeah. and then once they start to race, they're
Yeah.
always in the
Yeah.
boxes.
But I recouple them end of March,
Yeah.
so that they can start the racing season, the short distance races, as training on a youngster.
Yeah.
And I play them the first time when the youngster is 18, 19 days, when they return from
When is this first race?
end of April, beginning of May.
End of April, beginning of May.
Something like that, yeah.
And the distance is?
For me then, when I started to play, it's 300 kilometers.
300 kilometres. Yeah.
And on the shorter distance race, they go as training.
Yeah. And will these have any training tosses with the car prior to the season starting?
Same distance as the youngsters,
Same as the youngsters, yeah?
but not as much.
Not as much.
Let's say 2, 3, 4 times, and it's done.
So they have the first race on a youngster,
Yep.
and then what happens there then? How old is this youngster?
When the
they-
youngster is 17, 18, 19 days,
Yeah.
I basket them, and when they return, the youngster is gone,
Gone away,
and the cock is sitting in the place.
Yeah. And for the first race, how long is the cock waiting for the hen for?
When they return, an hour.
An hour.
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No. I don't have really a time for it. It isn't so that in the beginning of the season it's shorter and at the end longer. No, it's 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. It depends from when I must basket, for example, the youngsters. Then they stay longer
Yeah.
because I'm away at Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. So going through the week then, on a Saturday, the hens return from the flight.
Yeah.
They're left with the cocks maybe 1 hour, 2 hours,
3
depending on when you've
hours,
got to
4 hours,
basket.
yeah,
Yeah. What is the system from that point with these hens until they go in the baskets for the next flight?
They stay locked.
Locked in the boxes.
And not on Sunday, but certainly on Sunday evening, they have their first training
flight around the loft.
around the loft.
Yeah, we say
And-
training flight, but that's training around the loft.
Yep.
Yep.
And they do that every day in the morning and the evening.
Yeah.
And they come in, and then they get their feed.
Yeah. And Friday when it's basketing day, or Thursday as some days may
Yep.
be. Yeah. What is the system when you're basketing? Are they given a cock?
Yeah.
Or just a
So
bowl?
they receive their food in the morning when I basket on Tuesday evening, and when it's noon, they get their food from the evening. So they have eaten a lot of, and then they receive their cock for 20 minutes, and half hour, an hour. It don't matter.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
No,
No?
don't matter.
Are you looking to see anything? Some
No.
people say when they're racing cocks
No,
they want
yeah, that's
nothing.
something different.
Something different, yeah?
I think that's something, but I give them their cocks. I'm going to eat myself, and then I put them in the baskets and I go to the club. So they stayed here for 20 minutes, an
Yeah,
hour, an
yeah.
hour. It depends.
Yeah, yeah. And these boxes, the boxes have got bob wires on the front where the hen's sitting, yeah? When the hen returns, she just goes straight in and locks herself in, yeah?
When she's for the flying around the loft,
Loft,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so they come in, do they all go immediately to the box, or do you have to coax them up on the boxes, or
I learned it.
you learn it?
Yeah. When they are a yearling, they don't know the system. So I train them. When I am racing the hens, they are locked in the boxes. So before the boxes there is a pot with feed and grit. And they have also pot with water in it. So when the first time, this is locked, but the first time they came in after training around the loft, I put some small corn in it so they can enter free. After a week time, they know when they come in, they must go for the little feed they like into the box, And then I close it when they come in. I open this. So I put some mice after it, and because they are hungry and they know there is feed there, they go inside. They try several times here, but after 2-3 times they know they have to go inside, and afterwards I can lock this so I can go to home my loft. When I know that, I put the feed into the box. They go inside and they can eat. So I put the feed before they came in. One hen in one boxes, and afterwards I lock it down. So another hen cannot go inside. And they stay there for the rest of the day.
At the start of the season then, Freddy, you said you started with 40, 50 hens.
Yep.
They've had 14 races, and there's now 17 hens on the loft. Now, I know you've not lost these hens on the flights.
No.
How do you select these hens, you know, to get down to the number you've got now ready for next year?
First, when they get on Widowhood ship.
Yeah, Widowhood, yeah.
Widowhood. In about 3 or 4 weeks, there are 10 who don't accept the system.
Yeah.
So these are removed, and then every race I take the too bad the ones away.
Yeah. So not every hen is suited to racing
No.
on the Widowhood system,
No.
then.
Certainly not.
What do you look for in a good Widowhood hen then, apart from top prizes? You know,
That's just calm. That's
Calm.
just not
nervous.
jumping every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, because your hens are locked in these boxes 24/7, apart from when they're on
Yep.
the races. Yeah. So you're looking for a calm hen.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So some hens are taken out because they don't make, and then as the flights progress, those that are making the worst prizes, they're away.
Yeah.
Yeah. You only race the hens as yearlings. Do you have any 2-year-old hens in the side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 2. Yeah.
Yeah. How many out of the 40, 50 hens you start with? How many will you race as 2-year-olds?
Now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. From 7 who are 2 years
Yeah.
old.
So this
now.
year you started with 7. You won't race them as 3-year-olds.
I'm gonna try it.
You're going to try it then this year, yeah.
But as soon as I see that they don't make good prices, I stop them.
You stop them.
Yeah.
So, unlike a Widowhood fancier, he can race the hens as young pigeons, and maybe he'll have a few late races with the hens on nest or early races on nest, and he can select his hens like that for breeding potential. How will you select the cocks for their breeding potential when you're only racing hens?
There are some places available here.
Yeah.
And the best racing cocks, of the best young cocks who have raced, came here, and I try them against the yearlings.
Yeah.
When they are 2 years old, I try the best ones out in boxes. And after 2 years, I know it.
Yeah.
They have had several hens, so I see when.
Yeah. So the young cocks that you've played on the races with, you'll couple them in here
Yep.
with hens. After that, you'll have them on a bull system, coupling them with 3, 4 hens.
Yep.
So within 2 seasons,
I know.
you know
Yep.
what they're producing. Yeah. Yeah. We can't argue with the results. So obviously the system's working. Yeah.
Voilà.
Yeah. And the loft, the total length of the loft. What is the length of the loft?
The section of the hens is, I think, 6 meters.
6 meters, yeah. And again, you can't close the ceiling off. It's
No.
just a wire ceiling, tiled roof. On the other side are the breeders, which are on
Yeah.
the front side with the aviaries. No ventilation on the front again, just the plastic windows. Any heat in here with the hens? No heat for the early part of the season?
No.
No,
The sun.
just the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you was telling me earlier, this loft and the young pigeon loft are always warmer than
Yeah.
the breeding loft.
Yeah.
And see, which direction will this loft face? Because it's facing opposite to the young bird loft.
No, it's east side.
This faces east.
Yeah. Young
Yeah.
birds is south,
The young birds is south.
and the breeders is west.
Is west. So would you say west is a bad position to face a racing loft then? If it's always colder than
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't face your racing loft west. Yeah.
I'm not for sure, but
Yeah. Judging
I
on
should.
what's happening
Yeah.
in your garden,
yeah, I should
don't
do
put
it.
the loft facing west.
Yeah.
With the hens, Freddie, when you're racing cocks, you can see how they're playing around a loft, they're flying high, flying on their own, coming back. When I've had hens, you let hens out and they fly in a very tight group and they fly well. But how can you tell when a hen is right for the race? You know, when you feel confident that you're going to bet heavy on her.
When I open the windows and they come in, they must not hesitate 1 second to enter that box.
Yeah.
When they are going to the floor or to another box, it isn't right.
Yeah. And they'll come straight back in, through the
Yeah.
window, straight into the box.
Straight into the box.
When a hen does that, you're confident of a good
Yeah,
flight.
I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that,
And it don't matter if she has had much food or not much food. It's nothing to do with the food.
yeah, you told me earlier you've got to be careful feeding hens. With cocks, it's a little bit easier than feeding hens. You must keep the hens on diet longer,
Yeah.
so that they're still eating on the last day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They eat as much as on the last day as at the first day.
Yeah,
They
you,
eat,
you've got this thing about feeding whereby you don't weigh the food.
no,
A good fancier can see
Yeah.
how much pigeon
needs.
it needs to eat.
And every pigeon is different.
Every pigeon.
I know this one needs more food than this one.
Yeah.
So you have to see it.
Yeah. We're going to have a look at your mixtures now, your different mixtures, what you use, because you
Okay.
don't just use one bag.
No.
You use different bags. Yeah.
And different marks. Is it?
Different companies, different
Different
makes from
companies,
different
yeah.
companies. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your tea that we mentioned earlier. You're a
Yep.
big tea
Yep.
user. We'll have a look. Yeah.
We're gonna have
Okay. And if a pigeon's late back from the flight, Freddie, is there anything you'll do then?
He don't go into the loft.
No.
He goes here in the separate boxes,
Right.
and he stays here for, let's say, a week. And in this week, he gets a treatment against trichomonas, coccidiose, and worms.
Worms. Yeah.
So-
You'll treat your pigeons for worms. Yeah.
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 When they are coming back.
Yeah. How
Otherwise,
late?
not.
You know, is that not if they're the next day? How late?
Let's say 2 days.
Yeah.
When they are totally lost.
Yeah.
When they are not totally lost, they go to the loft.
Yeah.
Into the loft. That's no problem. But after 3-4 days, they
Yeah. That's probably somewhere where a lot of fanciers fall down. A pigeon's missing 2 days. It comes back. They let him straight in the loft.
Yep.
Here
no.
again, you're a man for attention to detail,
Yep.
aren't you? Yeah. Yeah. And they'll have a cure, like you say, trichomoniasis, coccidiosis,
worms.
and worms. Yeah.
Yep.
And you get no. You were saying earlier with all the straw, no coccidiosis.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I have noticed while I've been going around your loft, Freddie, and that's grit. You've got a big thing with grit, haven't you? There's no grit pot where the grit's put all week. Every box has fresh grit
Yep.
every day, and the young
Every
pigeons
day.
also grit
Also, yeah.
every day.
Yep.
Yeah. Why do you do this as opposed to?
Because I noticed the pigeons like the new grit when I put them in the morning into the pot or the things. They like it. When you left them for 3-4 days, they don't eat. it anymore.
So,
So I think for their
for the digestive system and
it's
everything
better
get
that
from it,
they get every time. And also I noticed also when I let my pigeons out and I give them not new grit, they go
they want to be pecking on a garden.
in the garden.
Yeah, so fresh grit every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've shown us these 3 products, Freddy, that you use. They're fairly ordinary products, any pigeon fancier can buy. Your results aren't fairly ordinary though, they're quite outstanding, which is one of the reasons we've come here. Have you any other products in this cupboard that you can show us that you use? You've got that grin on you. Every fancier says, oh, but he didn't show us his secrets. Show us your secrets. What else do you give?
I think I showed already my secrets with the pigeons.
With the pigeons,
That's the biggest secret. The second secret is the motivation of the fancier himself.
Yeah.
And then you have some products to help. So we have here the 2 things I use.
Tea.
Tea in the water, and I put some Cedacol.
Cedacol. Tea and Cedacol. Yeah. And how many days will you give this tea?
As many as possible, but in mostly 3 or 4 days in a week.
3 or 4 days, yeah. And why do you give it 3 or 4 days as opposed to just 1 day?
I believe with tea you need a certain period to give it that it has effect.
An effect, yeah. And then this tea's from your local veterinary?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tea from the vet. Right, remember that one. And the other product there, the orange product, that's Cedacol.
Cedacol.
Yeah. And you put the Cedacol on the corn?
No,
or
with the tea.
In with the tea, in the water?
In the water
tea.
with the tea.
3-4 days a week, the same as the tea?
Yeah.
Which days will you give the tea? At the beginning of the week or towards the end of the week?
Let's say from Monday to Thursday.
Yeah, Monday to Thursday, yeah. Anything else in there?
Yeah, that's another thing for...
Flagyl for trichomoniasis, just like metronidazole tablets, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, Flagyl, yeah.
Then we have...
Former. These are just eye cleaning drops for to disinfect the eyes. Yeah? You give this when they return or before they go, or
2 times a week, and that's the same thing.
Yeah, they're just ordinary drops from Fabry.
Yeah.
And this, it's just terramycin. Yeah, just
Also
again,
for,
if they've had a peck in the eye, just to stop anything nasty coming up in their eyes. It's just ordinary terramycin. Yeah. And that's it. The only other time.
That's all.
Is,
we have here the tea against.
Yeah.
For the breeders.
More tea.
More tea.
You're nearly an Englishman, aren't you?
Yeah.
And that's it. The only other time is if there's a problem, you go down to the local vet who supplies you tea, and he sorts it out for you.
Only we get when we have problems with the coli.
Yeah.
Then we go also to the vet.
Yeah.
And he gives us something to treat them.
Yeah. Now, feeding. This is something that a lot of fanciers fall down on. We've seen grains or bags of corn, mixtures marketed by companies for different fanciers. This is the expert mix. There's not a corn company in the world that could market your food because you have several different sorts of mixture.
Yeah.
So how do you go about feeding?
I start feeding them in the beginning of the week with super diet.
What, just that super diet, or do you take super diet from 3 different firms?
From 3 different firms. I have it from Beyers, from Verzelen, and Van Robijs.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's
I mix it all together.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do a little bit of Merriman also in it.
Yeah, a bit of Mariman super diet, yeah. Yeah. And you take them all together, mix it up, and that. What about your sport mixture?
I use also 5 different companies.
Yeah.
Marks of companies. And I mix it all together. I started with Super Diet in the beginning of the week, and then when we come in the middle of the week, I start to mix the Super Diet with the sport.
Yeah.
And at the end of the week, I stopped with the diet in it, and I put some maize in it.
Maize. Yeah. Any particular maize? Just good maize, yeah. Cribs maize. Yeah.
From the local
corn merchant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know preference for popcorn maize, Cribs maize?
No.
You're not bothered,
I listen to the man who have the store, and he says that's the best one at this moment, and I use this one.
That's the one you take.
Yeah.
When the birds return from a flight, which food will they have? Will they have sport mix, diet mix, super diet? And they'll have super diet until the middle of the week?
Yeah.
And then 50-50 start increasing?
Let's say not 50-50, I said 100%, 0%.
Yeah.
And then 90, 10,
yeah.
80. And then I go to 50-50, and then we are Wednesday, and then I stopped with the diet, and I go for full sport, and the last day, maize.
Yeah, you see, you're quite fortunate in the sense that you've got the feeding off to an art in the fingers. You can see it and you can feel it. For a guy that struggles to feed his pigeons, because most people, this is the area where they're falling down, most people can get good pigeons, they can build a good loft, but they don't know how to feed the pigeons. What is a good indication of somebody that's given their pigeon either too much or too little feed? How many grains of food will a pigeon leave if he has too much or if he has too little?
I think too little you can't see, because there is nothing left. Too much for my hands, it's 5 corns.
Yeah,
that's too much.
5 individual. If a bird's got 5 individual grains left, you've fed him too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you do that one time, that's no problem. But when you do that a whole week, at the end of the week, he has 10 feeding times.
Yeah. So he's 50 grains over.
Yeah.
And that's a lot in a pigeon, you think?
Too much. Yeah.
And another thing I'd like to talk about feeding, your young pigeons. Your young pigeons, they raced, driving the hens to nest, sitting eggs, feeding small youngsters, feeding big youngsters. When you feed the young pigeons, what's your system when you're feeding the young pigeons? Do you just give them as much as they want, twice a day or once a day? How do you decide when the young birds have had enough food?
When I feel it.
Again.
It's not, I see in some things that they say, I stopped when the first one is going to the drink pot.
Drinking pot, yeah.
I think it's that's not, because when you have youngsters, they go faster to the drink pot than another one who has eggs. There is then someone who is coming from his nest after 1 minute, the others are eating. So this is the one who is going, probably eating the last one, or is probably, for sometimes he is nest, pick some grains, hop, and is back on his nest. You can't stop then, you must feel it, you must look. And I don't put it all together in the feeding box.
No.
I put a little, I see, put a little back again in it. So I feed one time, but I don't put it all together.
A little at a time. Watch the pigeons. We've spoke about grit, gathering dust in the loft. What about a water pot? Because water is the biggest carrier disease in the world, really. You know, humans. How much care do you take with the drinking pots in the loft?
A lot of.
A lot of.
because I clean it every day, and they get it back in the same drinking pot only 2-3 days after
Yeah.
it's washed out.
So they're washed, left to dry,
Yeah.
and a new drinking pot.
It's also the system with the hens. I have a pot and I have
fresh
waiting.
drinking
Yeah.
pots. Yeah, everything, every drinking vessel is ×2 in this loft.
Yeah.
Yep. But the breeding pigeons, that's totally different from the flyers, isn't it? Your system with the breeding pigeons, totally different. You wash the drinkers, but you don't change the drinkers. They don't have no vitamins.
Yep.
They
With the
have
breeders, I
nothing.
don't give medication.
No medication.
I don't wash out the pots, the drink pots. I do nothing.
Nothing.
They have to do it with water and corn.
Yeah. And I take it that's to provide some good natural immunity
Yeah.
for the youngsters they're breeding. What about at the end of the season? End of season care. Everybody's talking about for 10 days we give a cure for paratyphus, or some people even vaccinating to try and stop paratyphus. Anything like that here?
No,
There's no cure for paratyphus at the end of the
No.
season? Nothing?
no.
No cure, nothing. No. And what about if you bring a pigeon in then from another loft as an introduction, will he go through the same system as what
Here?
these do? Yeah?
And the drops are
Yeah?
going to the vet,
To the vet, yeah?
and they are controlled
Yeah.
for coccidia worms and paratyphus.
Yeah.
That's something I do a lot of times. I bring some
Droppings.
drops to the
For testing, yeah?
for testing in the I don't know it in English, the UZ we call it here,
In the
The
off
veer-
season, yeah?
the veeartseneesschool, the school where they teach
Ghent. You take them to Ghent University?
Yeah, the University of Ghent.
Yeah. And is that in the winter time then? You'll take your droppings to Ghent, yeah?
Yeah. And
you
in the
do it
summertime.
in the summertime
Yeah,
also?
yeah.
Yeah? Always to Ghent, yeah.
Yeah.
When you take a dropping sample, how many droppings will you take? Will you know,
From 5 days,
Yeah.
from as many pigeons as possible.
Yeah. And can I ask, what does the university charge for having those droppings screened for a fancier? When I take my droppings to Ghent and say, please test my droppings, if I take droppings from 50 pigeons, say,
It's for the first style.
Yeah.
For the first thing you put there,
Yeah.
it's about 15 euros.
15 euros, yeah.
And every time you put another
Yeah,
on the same day, it's about 3-4 euros.
3 or 4 euros for every extra sample, yeah. So if you take 10 samples then, it was 27 and 15, yeah. It's 40 odd euros, so about £30 you get all your pigeons tested, and they test for what? Worms, coccidiosis, trichomoniasis?
No, trichomoniasis not.
No,
Uh,
that's with the throat, yeah.
yeah, paratyphus.
Paratyphus
Yeah.
as well,
Especially for that.
especially for that, yeah.
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 So why giving vaccination when they don't have
When
it?
they don't have it, no. Freddy, you've got a code on the wall by the drinking pots. What is this for?
That's the 2 crosses is for the drink pots for the hens and their cocks,
Yeah.
and the one is for the young birds.
Yeah.
And when there is no crossing on it, it's for the breeders.
Yeah.
When I wash it, but
Grills on the floor. In here they've got to develop a natural immunity, so hopefully pass it on to their youngsters. Medication is 0.
yep,
Drinking pots, they're just refreshed with water. Nothing like that. They're fed on the hopper all the time, are they?
all the time. Yep.
Yeah. The nesting boxes, they're all electronically cleaned, yeah?
Yeah.
You don't like your racing birds to have the electronic boxes, no?
No.
Why don't you that? It
Because-
saves you a lot of work. You're a busy guy.
Yeah. but I don't think the pigeons are happy in the boxes. And even on that, they are
Yeah.
falling. So
You don't like them, no.
no.
That's a big thing, is it, in a racing loft? Happiness.
Yep.
Happiness and contentment, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.